Discussion. This is our top story. Remember also we welcome your thoughts on hashtag KTN News Center. You can tweet me at Betty and Callo. Let me introduce my guest from my extreme right, Siyanka Lempa. He is a lawyer. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Betty, for inviting me.
Right. We also have Jacob Oyugi, who's a programs officer at the Consumers Federation of Kenya. Thank you also, Jacob, for coming on News Center. So we'll get to Governor Sonko's, action in a few minutes. But for now, Siyanka, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this whole, saga. From where you sit, is it a marketing strategy gone wrong, or do you feel like there were racial undertones in this particular move by the supermarket?
So far, we cannot tell whether it is a marketing strategy that has gone wrong or that it was a deliberate racial statement. But whichever the case, it's unfortunate that even the reasons, the explanation given by the management is not plausible. You cannot say that a new person has come and does not know English or does not understand Kiswahili, and therefore you are justifying his lack of knowledge. And there is this maxim in law that ignorance of the law is not a defense. If you look at the law against discrimination, racial discrimination, it's not even Kenyan, so to speak. There is a whole international UN convention on elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. And wherever that particular new employee came from, that I believe that particular person's country has ratified to that particular convention. And first, when you come to Kenya or to any country, if you go to England, if you go to Japan, Spain, or Cote d'Ivoire, the first thing that you are supposed to do is to familiarize yourself with the laws of those countries, so that whatever you do, you don't find yourself in a legal problem. That particular new employee who came to Kenya ought to have familiarized himself with the Kenyan Constitution, more so Article 2, Sub-Article 6, that says that all treaties that are ratified by the Republic of Kenya form part of the laws of this country. And therefore, it's absurd that one, rather than come up with an apology, you are trying to justify using reasons that are not plausible.
All right. I'm coming to you, Yugi. What is your take on this, the move, and not even Siyanka is talking about that reaction from the supermarket saying that, this is somebody who's not aware of, some of the, rules or regulations that, people would abide by?
At first, according to the way the apology came in, it wasn't an apology, because the point they were to address is, why is there discrimination that what they are targeting now are the white customers and not the black ones? Now, when they are giving an excuse that it is an employee who wasn't conversant with English, they haven't addressed the problem. That's why my colleague has said that the reason they gave wasn't satisfactory. And that's why, as COFEC, we are requesting them to have a stand that it's not a marketing strategy. Is it a market strategy that they're using? Or is it something that has been happening in there that we haven't been knowing? That the excuse they have that this is a new employee who gave the information out. In every organization, there is a protocol that is being followed even before any communication goes out to the public. So if the protocol was followed, that there is somebody who gave a directive that you can restart to our customers, it is a clear indication that they really understand what's happening. So in case that they are addressing a different thing, we haven't really got to the point of where they're saying that's a market strategy that they have in place, and that's what they intend to use in order to reach to their customers.
Interesting. Siyanka, if we're able to remove, because this is really emotional, anything that has, racial undertones is extremely emotional. But if we remove, the emotions from this particular issue and just think about maybe, they were actually just targeting a new market. Maybe they're targeting, quote unquote, white people, because, Kenyans, maybe we go to the supermarket quite a number of times and they're looking at another strategy of attracting another, demographic of people. Just the same way that KTN, we can say that, for this coming year, we're targeting maybe the teens, or, in our programming. Could it be like, maybe that is where that was coming from?
If you read the convention against against all forms of racial discrimination, you would actually understand that it bans or it condemns any strategy or any policy that is likely to even evoke the emotions that you are talking about.
Right.
And happening in Africa. You see, Africans are justified in a way to be emotional when racial discrimination is in place, because you remember that Africans have really suffered. Colonization was all about racial discrimination. Yeah. Slavery was all about racial discrimination. These beating or torture of Africans when they run away from their countries because of poor economic status. They go there, they get very sad discrimination stories that come out. You actually would understand an African who is very angry and emotional when anything that is racial in a way, be it a marketing strategy or be it a policy, be it whatever you call it. It's very sad that it's happening when we have new laws, new constitution, and when we have been having these laws for such a long time, because the convention in question was passed in 1966 and it was ratified by Kenya in 2001, 13th of September. And you would even ask yourself, a country like Kenya that has really suffered from racial discrimination, why did it take almost 40 years to ratify such an important convention? Okay. We've been out there in other countries, and it's very bad when such things as discrimination, being on tribal lines, be it xenophobia or racism, which is based on superiority of one race or one group of people over the others, of which it has been proven biologically that there is no one race that is superior to the other. All what matters is the level of exposure to technology and such other things.
All right. Yes. Interesting. Still on that, we'll come back to what the supermarket, directors come out to say. But Jacob, just looking also at some of the issues that have come up, we're getting more information that in the supermarket, normally, foreigners get vouchers, which they can come. They don't have to carry money. They can just come with a voucher. They buy the vouchers and they're able to come to the supermarket not having money. But that is not given to Kenyans. That benefit is not given to Kenyans. What is your take on that?
According to the Kenyan Constitution, under Article 46 of the Consumers' Rights, it clearly indicates that for a consumer to make a decision of buying any good or accessing any service that a business person offers in Kenya, there is need to offer an equitable information in regard to that good or to that service, such that a consumer can have a perception of how do I make a decision to buy this or not to buy. So even giving vouchers to other people, then you discriminate the others. It clearly indicates that there is an information you aren't sharing to all the consumers equally. And if that is the case, we really need to understand what is their market strategy. And if you're focusing that if a white comes here, he does shopping of this amount compared to the other person, where are we? Are we not in Kenya? Are we not hosting this? We are hosting them here, and we are promising that we will take their products from them. And the products that they're providing for us, all people need them. And in case you're trying to sideline others and give information to others, in one way or another, the marketing strategy should be in question.
All right. It should be in question. Well, the supermarket has come out to say that, they are not racist, that indeed they take all the clients equally. That is something that Kenyans are really battling to understand, especially given this recent events. But also they've come out to say that, look, we have about, 1,246 employees, and a larger majority of them, almost like 90% of them, are Kenyans. That should show that indeed they are not racial, they do not discriminate. They've also said that they get many of their goods from local manufacturers. They use local products, they sell local products. Does that hold any water to remove them from this situation?
of course, it does not hold any water. If, for example, you were to do an analysis of the employees they are glowingly talking about, you'd come to realize that most of the supervisorial duties are with people not who are Africans per se. And therefore, trying to justify by saying that we are buying local products, you can, of course, like the whites they buy a lot of Kenyan coffee, a lot of tea. But they take it, they blend it elsewhere, and they sell it almost at 5 times, 10 times the prices that they bought the raw material.
Exactly.
So that in itself does not justify any racial stand on your marketing strategy. And to answer your question that you had asked, whether when you target teens would probably be said to be discriminative, that you cannot draw parallels between racism and targeting a certain age, because of course the products that we are using when you are probably in high school are not the same that we are using today, and therefore age, there could be teenage can be homogeneous, but racism cannot. If, for example, you are selling products for the teens, and all teens, be they whites, be they Indians, be they Arabs, are able to buy, that's not a problem. But insofar as you say that our products are only for the Arabic teens or youth, then discrimination comes in.
Is there any redress for Kenyans? Say, like what the example that I gave, that, for Kenyans, they do not have that benefit of going to the supermarket and buying vouchers, so that I don't have to carry money, going to the supermarket. Do I have any legal opportunity to, seek clarification or even take the supermarket to court?
Of course, you have a lot of leeway. You have a lot of remedies. If you read the convention, which actually informs our Kenyan constitution, you'll find that the state as the Republic of Kenya is obliged, or is obliged by the UN to pass laws that incriminate any marketing strategy, any policies, or any conduct that would be interpreted as promoting racism. And of course, you can invoke Article 23 of the Constitution of Kenya by going to court and actually using Article 27, which is very clear, because racism and discrimination, racism is at the international level, while discrimination is at the local level. If you read Article 27 of the Constitution, Article 27 is very clear. And insofar as you have very good facts, you would be in a position to even overcome the counter-argument that the right not to be discriminated is not limited.
Okay, interesting. Jacob, coming to you, have you gotten as COFEC, because you are the front line when it comes to addressing issues to do with consumers and fighting for consumer rights? Does this happen many times? Maybe that this one has come out to the national level, but do you get cases of racial bias in some of the establishments here in the country? That say that we're targeting these people, or we are only for these people and not for these people?
Previously, we have received different cases of discrimination, and during the month of June, there is an email that came directly from Chandana, a worker who was stating how they are being treated inside there. But I believe that was, it never reached to the public, but it was addressed. And in other institutions, there is one that we were dealing with from Carrefour supermarket, and the management promised that there will be change in their strategies and that they will involve all the people in their dealings or in their marketing strategies. And as much as we are informed currently, they are doing an improvement in that. But there are so many cases we are receiving at our hand, and we are really trying to make sure that we deal with them and they are solved when Kenyans are treated in a good manner.
All right. Coming to what Governor Sonko did, so Yanka, I'd like you to comment on that. Was it the right thing to do? Because he sent a text message to different media houses, which is really not official. So what is the process that should have been taken?
Yes, indeed, Mike Sonko there, the governor of Nairobi, is, if I could use football terms, is offside. Because a governor, a very serious person, a person occupying a very senior position in the government, a state officer, is supposed to understand the law, as in the Constitution. He must know that Article 47 on fair administrative action obliges him that before he takes an action, that would have an adverse effect on any person, he must give written reasons to that person, or he must communicate to that person in advance, asking for his side of the story. All this is in what we normally call the rules of natural justice.
Yeah.
A governor should not be sending text messages. And you could actually think that we are now defending Chandarana. We are not. What we are saying, just like the Bible says that Jesus did not come for the good people, the human rights of which fair administrative action is not for the good people. If the reason why we take people who we find stealing to the court is to show them that we are different from you, that you have decided to do what you want to do in disregard of the law. We are going to correct you using the law. So that it's wrong for a governor to send text messages to media houses or to anyone banning his business or affecting his business. This is akin to what we used to call roadside declaration. Roadside declaration. And to Sonko, sorry, I do not think if personally I received any text message from you to stop doing what I am doing, I wouldn't, because that is not in accordance with the law.
So then what should have been the process? Fine, you mentioned that, there has to be, of course, investigations done, but what would make this case solid in court?
I do not think even Sonko per se is the person here to even lead in the investigation.
Okay.
There are institutions that are supposed to do this. COFEC here and other institutions are supposed to have done thorough investigation. After thorough investigation is done, then Chandarana is given a chance to answer to any accusations that would be leveled against it. And once it answers, then you do a balancing act. The complaint that has been put forward and the explanation that has been given, and therefore you chart the middle position that this was either a marketing stunt that went haywire, or it was recklessly done, and therefore Chandarana ought to have considered the natural consequences of its action.
Oh, all right, interesting. KOFEC, has KOFEC gone that extra mile in the investigation so far?
Currently, our investigation is ongoing, and yesterday we wrote a letter to the Attorney General, the Commissioner of Labor, and to the Department of Immigration to request them to do an investigation to come up with clear results from the investigation, that who are the directors in this case, what they hold in their qualifications in having those positions in that supermarket, who are these other managers who are in between here, that when a decision is made, they send it to the higher or to the senior managers for it to be approved. So from our side, we are carrying out an investigation, and we have already sent the letters out that those departments can carry out their research, then we can meet and see what is the way forward.
All right. So Yanka, who would be culpable for this issue? Who would be at the end of it?
Of course, if I were to sue this, I would sue the company in question, because the law nowadays, if you read the Constitution, the Bill of Rights binds both the state and non-state actors. Chandarana here is the non-state actor.
Yes.
I'd also go to after the Attorney General. Attorney General, why? Because he's supposed to advise the government. He's the one who is supposed even to advise the government on he must have advised the government on ratification of the convention on UN Convention on elimination on law against racial discrimination and the treaty. And if you read that treaty critically, you see a lot of responsibility is placed on the government as to pass such laws and to make sure that policies are in place that prevents the state agencies themselves and prevents non-state agencies like Chandarana is from practicing or from promoting activities that could be construed as racial.
All right, interesting. As we wind up, Jacob, is there a way that Chandarana is going to come out of this, and how can they come out of this? Because at the end of the day, indeed, they have employed, Kenyans, a number of them. They provide these services to also a number of consumers across the country. So is there a way to come out of this for Chandarana, from where you sit?
We cannot justify what they do and what we have heard from them. Because in case of us saying that they have employed many Kenyans, can we go direct to them and do an investigation to confirm these Kenyans that they have employed, in which position do they hold in this supermarket? The services that they are providing to Kenyans, are they justified that if you are discriminating directly from the information you are sending to the consumer, how can we be assured that the products, as you call them, they receive the same services or the goods that they are coming here for as the others receive? So as much as we say that maybe the supermarket can come out of it, there is a thorough investigation that needs to be done. The apology that was given wasn't satisfactory.
Yes.
There is much that we need to know about the supermarket. The email that went out in the month of June indicated how the workers are being treated. So this that has come directly, they're saying that it's a marketing director who sent out. I think there is something, or there are some nitty-gritty things that we really need to understand how the supermarket operates and how it should operate, because it operates in the land of Kenya. And we are ruled by the rule of law. All
right. Finally, Suinka, from many Kenyans who are watching, it could not be maybe Chandarana. Maybe it's another institution or establishment where, you would go and you'd feel like, there's some discrimination. How do you measure that? And how, as a Kenyan, as a common mananchi, would I address that maybe in court?
Yeah, you measure from the contact of organizations. And let me say this, although it could be of whatever you are talking about. If you look at the recent past, we have had Kenyan companies like Uchumi, Nakumat dying, and then the proliferation of Western or other supermarkets like Carrefour, Chandarana. You wonder why. And these supermarkets that are Kenyan in nature, KBS, for example, is another good example of a Kenyan bus company that has collapsed, that used to provide very good services to Kenyans. You would definitely measure by the number of people employed there and the work they do. You can't employ all sweepers. Someone, when I was coming here, someone sent me an advert in the newspaper of a company that has asked for supervisors and sales executive. Storekeepers are supposed to be Kenyan citizens. Where supervisors, it's in the nation. It's popping up in all over the place. It's sales executives are supposed to be Indians. It's clearly written. It's in my phone. I can show you if you so wish. And the storekeepers are supposed to be Africans. They are there, and the telephone numbers are there. Where is the government? Because this is a clear, it's a clear advert that promotes racial discrimination. And you need not go to any school.
Right.
You only need to advert your mind to exactly what is in that advert and say that this one is contrary to law, and it is actually trying to demonstrate some superiority of some group of people other than others. As to why should people be sales executive from one racial group while storekeepers. This reminds me my good days in literature, where this man in this good book, No Longer a Tease, that says that an African is here to do what he's told. He's not here to think. And that's a clear example of how Africans have been treated throughout.
Over the years. Yes.
That was in Nigeria, where someone is saying that you are here to do what you are told and not what you are here not to think, but to do what you are told.
Right.
So such things, you need not to be an advocate, you need not to be a doctor or a psychologist or a counselor to know a racial stand from or even contact from an organization. Like you are lucky. This is an African institute or organization or firm whereby probably you do not even interact with other people.
Yes. Also, just looking at that statement from a larger scale, it's the same thing that, Fred Matiang'i saw him the other day asking, why are Kenyans not being given these jobs that Chinese people are being given? Does it mean that they cannot do, the supervision, that, you're talking about? So I think it talks about a larger spectrum of this issue and opportunities that Kenyans would be given, right?
It's only that it has come out with Chandarana, but I believe it's widespread and disproportionate unfortunate. If you are to do an analysis of most of these companies, especially flour companies, these companies, like we were asking ourselves, why do we have some sports in Kenya, you know them, that are specific for some people? Why don't we have some people play certain or participate in such in sports? You go to Safari Rally. Safari Rally is for specific people. You know them. I don't want to mention them. Football is for specific people. If you look at the French national team, it was full of Africans.
Yes.
Why didn't we have African teams with so many white people, of whom are so many stars, who are left out by their national countries? Like England. England had so many people in a wheelchair who are left out by the national team but could not play for Nigeria or Senegal.
Yes.
Why?
So
most of these things are palpable, things that you can see.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your thoughts on this issue. We'll see what happens. We've been speaking to Jacob Oyugi, who is a programs officer at Consumers Federation of Kenya. We've also been speaking to Sianka Lempa, who is a lawyer. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. All right, so we'll take a short commercial break. Coming back in a few minutes to continue with our coverage. We'll also be having what's trending later on here on the show, so stay with us.